All right, this is going to be our one match review for this evening. We're going to be starting and ending, I guess, with MrRumbleRoses, who has 2.5k hours in Dead by Daylight, so over double the amount I expect people to be at least somewhat aware of their fundamentals. In Dead by Daylight, you should be having relatively quick chases, being able to patrol your gens really well, that sort of thing. You are playing Trapper, which is definitely going to be working against you because that is a bottom 3 character in the game. Very weak, and as DBD has gone on, they've gotten even weaker, which is really sad. They've tried to do some small quality of life changes to make him a little bit better, but you can only do so much for somebody like Trapper. In addition, you are playing on Larry's Memorial Institute, which is a map that does not have a lot of foliage or grass or anything to that extent that you can really hide your traps in. There's some, but not a whole lot. So your traps are going to be sticking out most of the time. And I think Trapper does the best when, like, the Trapper can funnel people into a trap. But with Larry's, there's a bunch of, like, adjoining rooms and windows. It's very easily to like W key to the next resource. So even if you shut down a loop with a trap, they have other places to go typically. So map's not working in your favor. So let's go ahead and look at your add-ons and your points. So for your add-ons seem fine. You are running the Honing Stone, which survivors caught in a bear trap who free themselves are inflicted through the dying state. So it's not just like I free myself and nothing bad happens. Then you have Bloody Coil, which is disabling your traps afflicts the injured state. These are fine add-ons. Nothing wrong with these picks. Some other picks you could have done were the Iridescent Stone, which disarm traps randomly rearm themselves every 30 seconds. You get it on Trapper Bag, which means you start the trial with all of your traps. But these picks are absolutely fine. You're also doing this is an old review because this is the Blood Moon event, as I'm noticing down over here. Keep in mind, to some extent, there's not much you can do in the Blood Moon event about gens because there's no gen slowdown that you can really run here because it doesn't affect most of the gens on the map. So that definitely limits your build, and there's going to be an aspect of this that's probably not your fault. Interesting. You're running a very interesting build. No-Ed makes sense. Bamboozle makes sense. Predator and Nowhere to Hide are very puzzling to me. Predator on its own as well is just kind of like not a great perk in general. Nowhere to Hide in a mode where you can only kick some of the gens to get its effect doesn't make sense because if you kick the Blood Moon gens, no perk applies. So you're not gonna be getting that. The advice is kind of like outdated at this point. I can only give outdated advice because the Blood Moon event's been gone for so long. If there's ever another event where perks don't work on gens, don't run a lot of perks that only work on gens, like Nowhere to Hide. If you're looking for stuff that like would make I see what you're trying to do here, where you're trying to like lean more into like chase because Trapper struggles with chase, but I'd run stuff like Coup, Save the Best for Last, stuff like that. I wouldn't run like Predator. Yeah, let's go and check out the match itself.
Let's see.
Okay. Well, Coup not this game, but you're right, because Coup also doesn't work. Because Coup only works off of normal gens. So it'd have to be saved, you're right. And it's so weird that it's very puzzling that this is a match review from so long ago. I wonder why they chose this one. Because like a lot of the advice I can give specifically based on this mode doesn't matter anymore, you know? It's interesting. Usually when I'm placing traps, not that I play Trapper a whole lot, but usually what I do is I'll place the trap around the loop and not directly under the pallet, because that's typically where the survivor is looking for it, is directly under the resource, like the window or pallet they're trying to make. If you put it around the loop, then they're not as likely to see it coming. Welcome back, Rando. Hope you're still doing well. This is why, like, it's hard to do a match review for such a zany mode like Blood Moon event. Also, kicking gens in this mode does like basically nothing. I would advise dry kicking anyways, even in the normal mode, but especially right there in the Blood Moon event, it takes them like literally like half a second to undo that. Like it literally doesn't matter in this mode. Don't ever dry kick in this mode.
So homeboy was right here. Yeah, you bitch.
Yeah, realistically, even if they're camping the pallet, unless you have bad ping, like, you're not going to hit that. Okay, so he does run into that at least. Problem is you haven't really spent a whole lot of time to set up a whole lot of traps. You kind of got straight into chasing. So you're basically man with machete for the most part. And you don't even have, you're still able to reset your traps without you doing so manually. So, especially in this mode, that's going to be a pain.
Yeah, see?
Okay, so the start of this, they do have to do at least one normal gen. They cannot only exclusively do the
Hello, everybody's here.
The blood gens. They have to do at least one. Thank you, Auto Aim. Thank you, Dark Souls. Okay. Luckily, this Jeff is not paying attention.
So that's 2.
I feel like this is a game that they're gonna throw, and not necessarily the other way around. It seems like they're not very aware. Like, they're good at getting gens done, but they're not really paying attention. Yeah. What did I say? They're not really paying attention. Like, the moment you're in a match with a trapper, you gotta realize you gotta, like, look down and be careful. They're not really being careful at all. You get this no matter what, because of Hunting Stone, yeah. Which is why it's a fantastic add-on. Very fantastic add-on.
Okay, so I got my chopper done.
Yeah, this was so long ago. We still have the old rift system with the challenges. The quest system had not debuted yet. At this point, if you don't know where anybody is, I wouldn't feel bad about going back to Heart. Like, you might as well. Excuse you. You know they're around here. Yeah, even less so in this mode. You should really not be dry kicking everything. That's kind of like the main thing I'm noticing. They undo that so quickly that it doesn't matter. You really shouldn't be wasting that time, especially somebody like Trapper, who you really need to not waste time. This Jeff, dude. No offense to this player. He is feeding you this win. He is feeding you this win by just not paying attention. He's not wearing his glasses today. Maybe that's it. Yeah, congratulations, Rocky. I know you've been working hard at that. Oh, why'd you swing at that? You weren't even... You weren't really that close to him at all. That was ambitious.
Oh, I got some good stones there.
If you're in a situation like that, often it's better to just instead of lunging at him, do a mind game, like a red stain mind game where you hide your red stain and then do just a normal attack. Because if you lunge through the pallet, like your active, like, I forget what the proper term is, but like your hit time is not active yet until you get to a certain point during your lunge. So you're probably going to get stunned in the middle of that. Whereas if you do just the normal basic attack, just the normal short swing, you're going to have that active like right away. So it's actually better to go for like a short attack there instead of just going for a big old lunge or basic attack. There we go. How can I ask for mine? You upload it to YouTube or send a Twitch VOD like this person did, and you just send it to the link. If you do !match review, it'll bring up the Google form that has all the rules and everything. So, yeah. That's how. Just make sure it follows the rules. We've had a lot over the years for people who have done some things that make it to where I have to add rules. Thank you, DP.
There for now, even though I know Steve. Oh, no, she is.
I feel like you, as long as you focus on this chef who's really not paying attention, you should be fine. Because this chef is just kind of like not aware of what's going on. So as long as you find and take advantage of that, you should be okay. Problem is you don't have any info besides nowhere to hide, which doesn't even really work in this mode. That's the issue. Just make sure you read the rules first. I've had to cancel a lot because people are not aware that it's meant to be for struggling players. He's literally running into walls, dude. This guy can't have a whole lot of hours. This is so sad. I feel bad for this chef. He's literally running into walls. And now you just kind of snowball from here.
Yeah.
Also, you have bamboozle, but like you never really vaulted anything like this whole game.
Yeah, got one case of burger.
It makes me wonder why you brought the perk.
Take that. Somebody went over here. Looks like possibly Felix. Done.
Maybe they get these last 2 gens done, which is very possible in the Blood Moon event. You have Noed anyways. Usually I'm not a big fan of having Noed in the matcheries, but it's the Blood Moon event, so it's like you were so limited on what you could run.
Surprise them.
So.
Nope.
Yeah, you gotta stop lunging at pals like that. That's why you keep missing.
There for now.
Keep pressure against W keys. Yeah, it's difficult. That's the problem with like characters that like their entire gameplay is like based around like getting the M2 at a loop. Is like as long as there's something else to W key to it, they can just leave. Hi Gamesman. I'm currently not playing. I'm doing a match review, but the games were good today. We're playing. We're testing out a new Xenomorph exhaustion build, which was like really really frustrating those survivors because they're DCing. What's BMing? Like teabagging, nopers, hitting people on hook, WSing survivors while they're down, that sort of thing.
Let's see.
That sort of thing. I hated how loud the Blood Moon hooks were. I really like to try to track a lot of people by sound, but I can't do that when the hook is like, I'm like, shut up. Shut up. I don't know why you're checking over here when there's no gens over here. I'm not sure why you're doing that. From a macro sense, you should be like checking gens that aren't finished and putting traps there gens that aren't finished, but you're like wandering up all the way up into the corner of this map where there's like no inkling anybody's over here.
Looks like there's 2.
It feels just like really random, dude.
2 regular gems.
You're literally winning this. I don't mean this any offense to you. You really are winning this because your survivors started paying attention. Okay, in this scenario, I know that guy just got stuck in that trap. There was somebody right next to you. You really should have just like at least taken the swing on them before going over there. You didn't. You missed an opportunity there. Yeah, you should have at least taken that swing first. There you go. You finally used BAM. You haven't used it all game, and we're at 2 gens. You should be fine here. Even if they get the last gen done, you have no ed, so you can just find the last person and then whack them. Yeah, you seem to have a bad habit of wanting to dry kick gens pretty religiously. And especially in the Blood Moon event, it's not good, but it's also not really that good of a habit in the normal mode either. It only does 5% damage. It's not that crazy. And as long as somebody's around, they can just easily undo it. The only real way you really want to be like dry kicking generators is if you're sure nobody's going to come back. I feel like the survivors lost this match more than anything. Like they just, despite facing a trapper, legitimately just were not paying attention at all. Like they did not care at all. They just did not care. Yeah, you just win this now because they just couldn't be bothered to pay attention. I think, like I said, with this one, it's kind of complicated because it's like, it's more this was more of a case of the survivors losing terribly than like your pressure causing them to crack or crumble. But there were some things you could definitely still improve on that I saw that happened there. Number one, you have a really bad habit about dry kicking. Dry kicking, if you're unaware, is just walking up to a gen without any sort of like pop, eruption, anything like that, and just kicking it just for the 5%. It only takes survivors so little time to undo that, that unless you're absolutely sure that nobody's going to come back and undo that 5% in any time soon, it's essentially a waste of time to do that. And especially since you submitted an old match from the Blood Moon event, even less so in the Blood Moon event because the gas canisters are so fast when they're filling that it does it even quicker. But in both modes, you really shouldn't be dry kicking gens as much as you do. The best pressure you can apply often is just chasing and downing survivors, whether that be hooking, slugging, whatever. You shouldn't focus too much on kicking gens without perks that apply some sort of slowdown or special effect. You had nowhere to hide. Once again, this was the Blood Moon event, so that wasn't really going off that much. Hey, Valley, it's good to see you, friend. Second, you only used your bamboozle once this entire game. I wouldn't tell anybody to willingly go into match and only bring 3 perks instead of 4. So make sure you're getting value out of your perks. You got value out of bamboozle one time, and there wasn't even a pallet there, so realistically you could have just like walked around the window and hit him anyways. So it wasn't even like a necessary use of bamboozle when you got value out of it. So make sure you're being conscientious about getting value out of your perks, because if you don't end up getting value out of your perks, it's might as well just bringing a dead perk slot, and I would never recommend anybody do that. Let's see. This was the Blood Moon event, Ali. This is a really old match, so they didn't have the luxury of like corrupt, deadlock, like, you know, the usual suspects. So they had to go to like weird perks. I think another thing that I noticed that is something that would apply to both modes is I noticed that like when you don't know where a survivor is, like in terms of like macro, you kind of have a hard time like recovering. Like you lost the plot there a little bit in the middle of the game where you just had like no idea where anybody was, and you just kind of walked up where there were a bunch of finished gens and like started checking around there with like no inkling anybody was around, which is like a huge time waster. And against better survivors, that would have been pretty detrimental. And if you have no idea where survivors are because you don't have any info perks or anything like that, or any base skin info on somebody like Xenomorph, for example, you got to think of like where logically would the survivors be at this point in the match? At that point of the match where they were about to get all the gens done, they're probably going to be on the gens, correct? So at that point, you should start patrolling around the gens, start putting traps around where the gens are. But for some reason, you went up into the corner map and just kind of like started checking random corners without any evidence to suggest that they were over there, which was a huge time waster. So if you are lost to where a survivor is, check where they would likely be in that scenario based on like the course of the game, right? And also, if you don't know where a survivor is and somebody unhooks somebody off hook, just go back to it. Like, it's not your fault that they're being good at immersing or not being found. Just go chase the people where you know where they are, you know, because the last thing you want is kind of just want to be wandering around doing nothing. It's wasted time, and match time is gen time. But yeah, those would be the 3 I would focus on.